Cheek. Good afternoon. Let me enhance the video to make sure things are right and turned around the correct way. So we're going to be talking about Republican democracy today. As you see, the title of the program is describing Republican democracy. Now, obviously, being the home of the free, the land of the brave, constitutionalists, we all know that both the Democrats and the Republicans have their ideal of what democracy is like in America, what it's supposed to be. Republicans tend to be traditionalists, those who believe the founding fathers got it right. We should preserve the Constitution, and that provides the best way of life in this country. Obviously, the Democrats tend to believe in a lot of amendments, a lot of change to the Constitution, certainly when it comes to amending it for the freedoms and protections of minorities, gays, and folks like that. They also believe the Second Amendment probably should be changed to some degree. So that is why the Democrats are often referred to as progressives, because they want to progress the country in different ways that the founding fathers may never have intended to do. And because the Republicans want to keep the Constitution very similar to how it was adopted under the founding fathers, many refer to the Republicans as traditionalists. So why is the video titled Describing Republican Democracy? Well, there are a few statements that have been made recently that I want to run by you guys. I want to get your take on it. I came here to talk to the folks. I always say this is a MAGA-friendly program. I enjoy talking to MAGA. I often believe that they are not fairly treated in the mainstream media. That's why we have these programs. We are entertaining civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle. So what the hell did the Republicans say that we want to discuss today? By the way, tap the screen. Get your boy to 5,000 likes. I appreciate the participation. Over 800 folks in here. Plenty of patriots and liberals alike. Well, Majorie Taylor Green is in the news. She recently was caught on a hot mic or on stage suggesting that if she and Steve Bannon were in control of the Love Fest on January 6th, they would have won, and they would have been armed. So I have to ask the question, what does she mean by that? What would a victory on January 6th look like? What was the goal? What was the competition on January 6th that would have led somebody to either win or lose? Based on her statement, it would appear that she believes on January 6th, someone lost that could have won. So what was the victory she was trying to achieve, and why would you have needed to be armed to achieve that victory? Now, obviously, this follows up President Trump suggesting that the Constitution needs to be terminated and he needs to be restored as the rightful president. So that is what we're talking about today in regards to Republican democracy. I want to get an explanation from you folks, particularly my MAGA folks. As I always say, I'll give you plenty of time in the box without any fear, zero fear of censorship being banned or blocked for your commentary. The fact that you may disagree with yours truly, the host, your humble correspondent, doesn't mean a damn thing. Give you plenty of time to state your point. We're talking about Republican democracy. Going to the comment section. Trump train, go Brandon, go. Well, in the midterms, I think he took your advice. He didn't do too bad. Republicans want a kingdom. Wow. And that's what we're talking about. Is that the case? Why would Trump suggest we should terminate the Constitution, followed by Majorie Taylor Green stating that if she and Steve Bannon were in control on January 6th, they would have won and they would have been armed? Going straight to the box, my name is Kitten. Kitten, welcome back to the program. Certainly a friend of the program. Kitten, what do you think Marjorie Taylor meant? If she was in control on January 6th, they would have won and they would have been armed.
I mean, so there's a couple things to pick apart here, you know. First of all, she means next time you guys do this, make sure you're armed so that you win, right?
But
Um,
what does victory look like? If she's saying so that you win, what does a
yeah.
victory for Marjorie Taylor Greene look like?
I mean, ultimately, I think the goal was to unalive Mike Pence,
Mm.
to unalive several Democrats, such as Nancy Pelosi, probably any other ones they may have gotten their hands on. And I think that was ultimately their goal, was to overthrow the government, unalive as many of their enemies as they could seek out,
Wow.
and put Trump back in office as a dictator.
So we would have in America where the VP and the Speaker of the House are deceased and Trump is back in power. I mean, how would America function with that being reported on the nightly news that today we lost both the VP and the Speaker of the House in the same day by a bunch of folks wearing MAGA hats?
America is just a name. America can be a democracy. America could be a dictatorship. America could be a capitalist country. America could be a socialist country. It's just a name. It's still America, right? It's just how we're acting.
Yeah, but by the way, Tim NOS, I appreciate those music notes. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Appreciate your generosity. But you're saying it's still America. But would America, with these citizens of America, American society, would we continue operating if
Yeah.
our leader suddenly became a dictator and did not
Mm.
step down? Will we
Well, you need
continue our daily lives?
Sure. I mean, you need money to eat, right? You're not going to go to work
Yeah.
anymore because the guy takes over being a dictator. I mean, this happens in countries all the time, right? People take over as a dictator, and you regular citizens go about their normal lives. And laws and different regulations change around them, but societies still function, right? People have made transitions from free countries to dictatorships and vice versa.
Yeah, I don't know. When you look at the mask mandates in Michigan, and you see how folks in Michigan responded to Governor Whitmer by surrounding the Capitol building, or in the case of January 6th, where folks believe that now the folks on January 6th believe, in their opinion, that democracy was being stolen. They didn't continue going to work. They went and did something about it. But you're
Mm.
saying that if Trump or another leader became a dictator, we would just accept it and keep going on with life?
Well, yeah, sure. I'm pretty sure that people would, especially MAGA. I mean, I don't see very many Americans. Americans are extremely complacent in their daily lives, and in general, Americans lack conviction. You know what I mean? There is not a massive. There is not.
What would the liberals do if they were advised that they were unlikely to ever have another liberal leader in their lifetime? How would the liberals respond to that?
It's very hard to tell what the response would be. I have seen clips on the news as of late, as left having more violent encounters with the right, and the right having violent encounters with the left. So I believe it'll spiral into a more and more violent situation, anyways. So it's very hard to tell what's going to happen. You know.
So, if we had an American society where we were fairly certain there would no longer be any Democratic or liberal leaders, what
Mm.
would our society be like? Would there be any changes to any laws?
Sure. I mean, you can kiss abortion goodbye. You could probably kiss gay marriage goodbye. If it got bad enough, who knows how far it could go. You may see a repeal of the Civil Rights Act. Even, it's very hard to tell. You're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Understand, Marjorie Taylor Greene advocates replacement theory all the time.
Yeah.
That is directly from the Nazis. Okay. That is the immigrants are coming for your school children. They're going to replace your school children. They're coming for your jobs to replace you. These people advocate. "Make America Great Again" was taken from a Nazi slogan. The Germans
Mm.
said "Make Germany Great Again." Okay, and that's
Yeah.
where you guys got it from. You can sit
Wow.
here and chat and in the comments and say, "No, we didn't." Yeah, you did though.
All right, kitten. I got to move it on, man. Appreciate you coming through.
Have a good one, man.
Absolutely a pleasure. And as always, folks, whether or not you agree or disagree with the host, understand I give everyone plenty of time in the box to state their point without any fear of being banned, censored, or blocked. I believe in free speech here, folks. Looking in the comments, the reason we're asking this live for you guys who may be new joining in this MAGA friendly program is that Marjorie Taylor Greene has just stated that if both her and Steve Bannon were in charge on January 6th, they would have won and they would have been armed. So the question we're asking is, what does a victory on January 6th look like? Because if she's saying that they would have won on January 6th, that means she's indicating that someone lost. So what would a victory have been like? And why do you need arms to implement that victory? This is what we're talking about, Republican democracy. And of course, with Trump recently stating that the Constitution needs to be terminated, we have to ask, are the Republicans planning something different for the way the country is ran? Because they're making all of these statements going right back to the box. It is, I cannot pronounce the name, Ian Galloway or something like that. Nevertheless, welcome program. Ian, can you hear me?
I can. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So what do you think Majorie Taylor was meaning when she said if they were in control on January 6th, they would have won and been armed?
It just seems like every other week there's some kind of a gesture that we control.
Okay, you're really low and muffled. I can barely comprehend what you're saying.
How's that? I just think that the conservatives, Republicans, every week there's some kind of gesture of quasi-violence that the Republicans are the party of testosterone, and they got to flex their muscles and try to just keep the liberals on the defensive. It's Trump's strategy to always attack. He's suing everybody. Remember, he was going to sue CNN. He's going to sue everybody in charge of the.
Yeah, but what does a victory for Majorie Taylor looks like? She's saying that she's indicating that they lost on January 6th. So what does a victory for her mean?
I'm not sure. I've been on a few lives, and most of the Republican friends in the chat would actually deny that January 6th even happened, or that it was just a political discourse. That it was just and it was justified by the fact that people were really angry because they felt that an election had been stolen from somebody that they had, in a psychological term, affected a huge amount of energy into their leader. They wanted Trump to be president so badly that they created this ghost kingdom, and they actually were ready to fight. They were ready to.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, well, fair enough. I'm gonna have to move it on because you're so low. I can barely make you out. But I did hear what you're suggesting in regards to that they wanted to put Trump back in office. But come on back through anytime. But your audio is really low. Okay, looking in the comments, just want it investigated. That's all. Well, in regards to your comment, Toby, that on January 6th they wanted the election investigated, then why are you calling for the termination of the life of Mike Pence? They were not yelling out, the election needs to be investigated. They were yelling out, stop the steal. So if you listen to the chants of those that were there on January 6th, they were indicating that they have already done some type of investigation and come to the conclusion that Trump won and that the VP needed to have his life terminated. So I don't know when you say that they just needed to have the election investigated, if that actually coincides to what was being said on January 6th. But the question we're asking, Majorie Taylor Green has stated if she and Steve Bannon were in control on January 6th, they would have won and they would have been armed. And we're asking, what does a victory for Majorie Taylor Green looks like? Coach Vernon, a friend program. Always good to have Coach Vernon on. Coach, what do you?
What do I think?
Yeah,
I think they're going to kill some people. Listen, okay. Remember when Majorie Taylor Green, how she got kicked off the committees for saying that Nancy Pelosi should be murdered, right? Am I correct?
Did she say that? I know she said something about Nancy.
She said something to allude by violence towards that woman. And this woman ain't the sharpest pencil in the damn box either.
Then why they
She's not.
elect her?
She's
Then why did she win by
she's
such a large margin out there in Georgia?
80% of her whole constituency. 80% of her constituency are high school grads in
Yeah, but
Georgia, like
shit, I don't remember
and
being
below.
like that when I graduated from high school back in the early '90s. I don't remember being like that.
And below, and it's a rule. It's a rule spot in Georgia. They're not really up on all this culture stuff. Like, it's not. I don't want to say that they're racist, but it's not really a diverse part of Georgia.
Yeah, but I don't care how backwards you are. You know it's not right to talk about taking the life of the vice president. You don't need to have
If you
a
could get a,
college education for
if
that.
if if you could get away with it, you know what I mean. Like we're in the age of Trump. You say what you could get away with. She got
Yeah,
reelected saying it.
yeah, I suppose, but damn. I mean, I even
She
when
got
I
real.
was in even when I was in fifth grade, I would have knew chanting that I wanted to take the life of the vice president would get me in a hell of a lot of trouble. And I'm talking about the vice principal at my school. I wouldn't have got away with
Yeah.
that. The
What
vice
what
president of the
Trump
United States.
Trump said it and lost, and he's running for president again.
Yeah.
He said it
Real,
on Twitter
real,
and chanted it to people.
real
But
quick
I
in the
thought they had a
comments.
plan.
Okay, I just want to interrupt. I'll let you continue, but real quick in the comments, Ahoy Patriot, love the name, says, "This is all one sided. I'm out." Come in the box. If anyone who
Come
watches
in the
this
box.
program regularly,
Yeah.
anyone who watches me regularly knows that I give MAGA plenty of respect and time to communicate when you're in the box without fear of censorship being banned or anything like that. However, I cannot make you step up to the plate and hit the damn ball. But if you step up, I'm going to pitch to you. So I don't get that. But anyway, go ahead, coach.
I think that, since you said they were going to be armed, the Capitol Police would have had to interject. It would have been gunfire. I think they would have had enough people to make it to the Congress people. They would have shot everybody up or did away with some people, and then they would have blamed it on Antifa. Then they would have stated martial law, and Trump would have took over from there.
So
Going to
what about us folks on the left side of the aisle? Let's say that on January 6th, Marjorie Taylor Green and Steve Bannon were victorious. They got rid of both the VP and the Speaker of the House. How is the liberal constituency? You think we would have just, like my last caller said, we would just have continued going on about our lives? You think if you're
like
watching world news tonight and you find out that both Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi are deceased because of a bunch of folks in red hats, we would just continue to go to work the next day?
Nah, I wouldn't go to work. I'm an African American man. I'm gonna be frank with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that Charlottesville stuff. They do that. They could do that in Charlottesville. They can't do that in Miami. They don't do that here. You know,
Yeah.
they don't act up like that in Chicago. So all that, we're gonna arm ourselves and take over. You do that where you can get away with it at, but like I'm not. I'm a liberal, and I ain't laying down. I got guns. I ain't laying down. I'm not gonna lay myself down. And I'm a Marine. I'm a former
So,
Marine also.
so you see, and I appreciate your service, man. So you see, this could possibly, you see where what Marjorie Taylor Green is saying could have possibly led to civil unrest in this country.
Yeah, and that's what they allude to wanting, but at the same time, they don't. They want to threaten the violence, but they don't want the smoke that comes from behind that. Because if they would, it's simple ways to get it started if that's what they wanted to do. But they don't
Well,
go
well,
about life that way.
but when you say there's simple ways to get it started, I mean, what else could get it started more than January 6th? You say they don't want to smoke, but when you look at them surrounding the entire Capitol building in Michigan, what happened on January 6th? And now all of a sudden we got power grids that are mysteriously being taken out. You sure there are not people in this country that want to smoke?
It's people here who want it, but it's not in a way that they want that they're tossing stuff they're doing stuff, but they're not saying it's me.
Well,
We
yeah,
want
that
we want
that's a
change.
that's
We
a
want
fair
we
point.
want
Yeah, that's
we want
That's a fair
change.
point. That is a fair
We want
point
that
that the
change.
people, yeah, the people who are doing it, yeah, they often are very hesitant to admit their actual intentions or that they even participated in the first place. So I do
But
agree with
you know,
that, but go ahead.
before you let me off, but I really truly think this, right? I think this, and I have super respect for Republicans. I want to vote Republican one day in my life. truthfully. And I truly think that these guys are really infighting, but they're kind of going to eat themselves up like wolves eating a baby. Like they're allowing these people to be in charge. At some point, the whole Republican Party going to fall on its face. Is going to have to remake themselves, and they're going to end up, it's going to end up being a liberal in office for probably like the next 2 or 3 cycles. They're going to find their track without them, without this Marjorie Taylor Green. They're going to have to turn into their own party
Well,
to get stuff done.
when you consider the constituency of Marjorie Taylor Greene, I would submit to you that that congressional seat is hers for as long as she wants it. I don't believe that she's going to
But
be off of Congress unless she commits a crime where the committee
but
gets rid of her or she's impeached or however they remove a congressperson. But if it's
but
just up to the voters, go ahead.
as a Republican, I don't think so. I think at some point the national committee, Republican committee, gonna stop funding people like her. They're gonna stop giving them dollars. See, the thing is, they give them dollars to run. She may be able to run because she's from a place where she's uniquely qualified to do that. But you have these people like a Herschel Walker, people who making statewide bids and stuff like DeSantis.
Right.
Like DeSantis keep talking about this woke talk. He got like one cycle to do that. The next cycle he come around and keep talking all this divisive.
Yeah, I think I
He
gotta
keeps
move it
talking
on, but
all
I
this.
think
thing
you and
is,
I disagree.
the thing is,
I think
the thing
DeSantis
is,
could be around for as long as he wanted to be.
the thing is, they don't talk about governing. They talk about divisive stuff, and people are too savvy these days to know who's not working. When your whole political stance is about dividing people kind of catch up to that.
All right.
But
Fair
I'll
enough.
let you
I
move
gotta
on.
move it on, Coach. Good
All right,
talk.
take care.
All right. Going back to quick, like I said, I've never banned, blocked, or censor anyone. I'm surprised I don't have a lot more patriots coming on the program. You're all welcome. Make no mistake about it. I'm not going to ban you or block you or censor you because you say something that I don't agree with. My free speech rights are no more important than yours. So come in the box. I'll give you plenty of time. However, I disagree with the previous caller in suggesting that DeSantis or maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene only have maybe 1 or 2 more election terms to get their act together. I believe, particularly Marjorie Taylor Greene, I believe that seat is hers for as long as she wants it. And I think that Ron DeSantis, if he continues running for the gubernatorial position in Florida, he would probably win several terms in a row. But maybe I'm wrong. Going to the box. No diapers handed out in prison, okay? Let me see. What did it say here? Trump is best for us. Well, for Trump to come back, you got to win him. And right now, when you look at the midterms, I don't know if a lot of the voting public, if enough of it, agrees with you in suggesting that Trump is best for us. But the question we're asking, I'll run it by you guys again. Feel free to tap the screen, get your boy up to 15,000 likes. I appreciate that. What did Majorie Taylor Green mean when she suggested that if both her and Steve Bannon were in control on January 6th, they not only would have won, but they would have been armed? What does a victory on January 6th look like for someone like Majorie Taylor Green? Because by her saying she would have won, she's indicating that somebody lost. So what are you winning? What is the victory? What does it look like? And why do you need arms to implement it? And this obviously follows up Trump's suggestion that we terminate the Constitution. Now, I understand folks on the right, my beloved MAGA viewers, believe that his phrase of terminating the Constitution means something totally different than a lot of Americans interpreted it to be. Very similar to defund the police or Mexico's going to pay for the wall. Everybody has a different interpretation of what that means. But what are folks supposed to think when they hear someone say terminate the Constitution in a sentence? Are they going to come up with some type of, specific narration or interpretation for what that means? Terminate the Constitution. Those words in that order. Very similar to defund the police. People are not going to sit around to hear your explanation of that. Sounds to me like the phrase is fairly self-explanatory. But that is your host. I'll go to the box, see what you guys have to say. It is Jose Alvarez, 0840. Good afternoon, Jose. Welcome to the program.
Hey,
Jose,
good morning. How are you? I've seen your program. You do a great job, dude. Do a great job.
appreciate that.
Uh,
Are you on Bluetooth? You got some echo.
oh, sorry. Let me see if I could. Is it better that way or? Sorry, I'm driving right
Um,
now.
yeah, you're
I
okay,
might
because
have.
when you're on Bluetooth, I hear myself back and it messes the program up. But what do you think Marjorie Taylor meant by suggesting they would have won if she was in control?
You know what? Honestly, I just heard that from you today, but I was also listening to you what you were saying about the January 6th and what happened. That I believe that I was a Democrat for a long time. I'm from California, but I just started seeing the stuff that was corrupt out here, and I wasn't agreeing with it. So we all have our own views, and but on January, so I went to January 6th, right? So I wanted to experience it for myself to see what was
What
going to
were
be like.
you?
So
Okay,
I
so
didn't, we didn't expect.
wait
Yes.
a minute. Were you there on January 6th just to see what was happening, or were you there because you believed in something specific?
Okay, so I'm from California, Central Valley, and I went to go vote, and I was, like I said, I've been Democrat since I can vote. So I started seeing everything that was going on, and like I said, I voted for the opposite party, thinking that I'm going to give a businessman an opportunity to show us how he can run the country. And
What is the opposite party? What do you mean you voted for the opposite party? Who did you vote
okay,
for
so
specifically?
I voted for a Republican. I voted for Trump. So I wanted to see
Okay.
how businessmen can vote or run the country instead of a politicians who've been there for years that think they know, and they talk to us like they know what they're talking about, but they actually don't do anything for the people. So
Okay.
when I did that, I was a proud Trump voter, and I went to January 6th to see what it was going to be like. Right, I've never been to a Trump rally or anything, and I just wanted to experience it for myself.
Okay, well
So when I
let me
went,
interrupt you. You do understand January 6th was not a Trump rally though, right? I mean, by then
yeah,
the
no,
election was over with.
it was there. Yes, it was there for steal the vote. So let me tell you. So I voted here in California, and when I went to go check my vote, because I voted in person the day of the of voting, my vote didn't go through. So I called and I asked the Fresno County why wasn't my vote counted when me and my friend went to go vote at the same time, same poll, and my vote said it wasn't clearly it was unfinished or something like that. And I showed all my friends, and I was like, well, how is it that your guys' vote counted but mine didn't? And I just didn't feel that my vote counted. So that was another reason I went out there to for the steal the vote, because I felt that
So
there was some fishy
so
stuff
because
that was going on.
fair enough. So you put your vote in, you was able to verify your vote didn't count. So
Yes, sir.
when you went to the January 6th protest, when you went there knowing your vote didn't count, did you have the belief that Trump actually won the election though?
I believe so. The reason that is
Okay.
because out here in California, we're it's a heavily a Democratic state, but you were starting to see rallies all over places that you never seen them. Fresno, California, Clovis, California were hosting some of the biggest ones in the valley. Tulare, you started seeing signs from Fresno all the way to Sacramento. Trump won, Trump, like everybody had Trump signs. Everybody had Trump signs, and everybody was making fun of people who were whatever they want to call them, Trumpers or whatever. And it was like, I just felt that what I seen was opposite to what. Let me give you a good example. So when I went to go vote and I seen the total amount of people who actually voted, the numbers didn't really add up. So like in my little city, there was about less than 1,000 people that showed up in a city that's over 30,000 people. So I'm just like,
Okay.
wow, only a
Okay.
thousand people out of 30,000 people voted.
Here's the issue I want to ask you, because you say you assume that the fraud made you believe that the other side won. How do you know when you say your vote didn't count? How do you know that there were also not Republicans' votes that did not count as well? Because you're assuming that not only was there fraud, but the fraud came from the Democrats. So the question I'm trying to ask you is, how do you not
I'm not.
know?
I'm not saying as Democrats. I'm saying just how the voting system is in general. From like everybody's seen it. You know, they closed the pollings at a certain time. They were giving excuses of there was water leaks and whatnot. Opening up the ballots again and starting to count like late night. It's just things like that just didn't add up. You started seeing videos
I'm
of people
fine with
harvesting and stealing ballots and doing all that stuff,
but I'm
finding ballots in the
fine.
mail.
Yeah, but what you're doing is you're pointing to election fraud, but you're not
Right, that's what it
pointing
is,
to.
right?
Yeah, but wait, hang on a second. Showing that election fraud took place does not mean that is a 100% Democratic election fraud. All of the things, whether it's stuffing ballots, throwing ballots in rivers or whatever, how do you know that Republicans were not doing that? How do you know it's automatically all Democrats?
I'm not. You know what? I'm not gonna say it wasn't, because I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like, if you guys don't see what's going on right now with Republicans and Democrats and how Elon Musk is exposing both of them for what they are, I mean, we're the little fish, right? They're the big fish. So they really don't care about us, and that goes to say from. I mean, you can call it how you see it, but even Elon Musk is gonna he's gonna expose all this for what it is, and
Well,
from the
I
vaccine
don't. To
to
me,
listen. Hold on,
yeah,
hold on. Well, look at let me tell you. So what I don't get is how Jeffrey Epstein got away with everything that was going on from the pedophilia and everything, right? So check this out. So he was giving money to Bill Gates, and Bill Gates was giving money to Fauci, right? So now they were all funding each other. So let me finish. So now you have the exposure of FTX and what was going on through the cryptocurrency, right? They were sending our money to Ukraine through a tax, or like
okay,
how we
you
get
gotta
taxed,
move
right?
it on. You're throwing a lot out there. Wrap it up.
I know, but okay, understandable. But you need to understand that all this intertwines with each other from how they all fund each other, and we don't benefit off of nothing. They're the ones who keep coming up when we're over here arguing about who did what, when nobody knows really the truth, but the truth is coming
Okay.
out.
All right.
And my thing is,
let me interject. You're throwing way too much out there. First of all, when it comes to
well, it is a lot.
Elon,
It is a lot for
okay,
people to understand.
but you can't throw so much out there that I can't respond to it. You're going way out there. First of all, the exposure you're talking about coming from Elon Musk would be akin to exposure coming from Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg or even Al Sharpton. The folks on the right wouldn't believe them. You would look at Al Sharpton or Mark Zuckerberg talking about Trump or something as if they are a compromised liberal. Well, folks are going to look at Elon Musk the same way. So even if Elon Musk was telling the truth, as you're suggesting, nobody on the left
Well,
is
it's
going to
not
believe him. Wait, hang on.
right,
Nobody
because
on
you
the
know why?
left
Because
doesn't matter why.
that's what they
You
were
guys will
trained.
do
Yeah,
the same
that's what
thing.
they were trained to think. That's what they were trained to
Well,
think, not to
that's
believe
fine.
Elon Musk.
That's
When all this
fine.
is going to go through the court system, like it's going through now. The court system right now has a court in the Supreme Court right now, because on January 6th, the government didn't do its job. They were there to vote on the electoral votes on who was going to become the president. So it was all a setup. So that way, when the CIA and FBI was involved, they're the ones that went and did the insurrection and got into the Capitol
Okay.
when we were
So
still at the rally.
okay.
We were still at the rally. So the
Let me
time didn't
bring you
add
back
up.
home. Wait a minute. Let me bring you back home and ask the original question. What did Marjorie Taylor Green mean when she said that they would have won if they were in control on January 6th and they would have been armed? What does that mean to you?
Like I told you, I didn't know she said that till this morning when you
Well,
said
you
that,
know
but I came
now.
on to
You know
tell you guys
now.
about.
What? Now that you've heard it, what does that mean to you?
To me, I don't know. I don't know what she means, because it could be a different meaning to me, to you. I don't know. I don't know what she meant.
You don't have.
And I
You
don't
don't
care
have.
that she said that, because to me, she doesn't represent my area. Like, I don't know what
Doesn't
she
matter.
meant
It
by that.
doesn't matter. Wait a minute. It doesn't matter if she doesn't represent. You have zero opinion on all of this Elon Musk stuff. You got a deep, in-depth opinion on all of that in the election.
Because
But when I
that's
ask
what I pay
you,
attention on. That's what I pay attention to. Elon Musk and the guys that right now that are trying to expose the people for what they are. That's who I listen to. I
okay,
listen to
all right,
Trump. I listen to
all right,
Ye. I
fair
listen
enough.
to Elon. I listen
Yeah,
to Andrew Tate. Those are the guys that are exposing the people on the top that are for what they are. And us, we need to stand together like
you
Brazil
do.
just did. Brazil just
Wait a
did.
minute. Wait a
Do you
minute.
know
Hold
what's
on.
going on in Brazil?
You're trying to change the topic of the program. You're literally offering zero on the actual topic, but
But
you have a lot to
I
say
told you
on
at the beginning,
Epstein and
I
all this
don't know
other
what
stuff.
she meant by that. I told you, I
Okay.
didn't know she
All
said
right.
that till this morning when you
Okay.
said it.
All right.
So I
I
can't,
got to move it
I
on.
can't just be
All right,
like,
I got to move it on there, man. I got to move it
all
on.
right, all
Appreciate
right.
it.
But that's a question we're asking. Now, in regards to what the last caller said, as I always say, I let folks get their opinion across. I let him state everything he had to say, but when I tried to rein him in and ask him about the actual topic, which is fairly controversial, I mean, the woman is saying that if she was in control on January 6th, they would have won and they would have had arms. And when I asked them, well, what is your take on that? Well, I'm not even paying attention to that. All right, fair enough. But he had an in-depth opinion on Elon Musk and Epstein and all this other stuff. That's what he wanted to talk about. We have had shows about that stuff, folks. But right now we're asking that question. So the phrase of the question is American democracy under Republicans. What would it look like? We've had Trump also suggest the termination of the Constitution. This is a MAGA-friendly program. I don't ban, block, or censor anyone. I'm going right back to the box. I am going right back to the box. Mark, time.
Welcome back to the program. I haven't talked to you in a while, Mark. Good afternoon.
How we doing?
I'm doing good. A victory for Marjorie Taylor Green. What does that mean?
Uh, they've replaced the dog whistles with like foghorns. they, uh, I thought there was somebody ahead of me in the queue. I didn't expect to get up this early, but I'm actually glad I can follow that guy. If you don't mind, real quick.
Sure. Go ahead.
Um,
Let me hear your opinion.
so, Steve Bannon has this old quote of like flood the zone with shit. Have you heard that before? Have we talked about that before?
No, I don't think we have, but based on his leaked audio tapes where he suggested that Trump was automatically going to say he won whether he was winning or not,
Yep.
sounds very similar to what you're talking
Exactly,
about.
exactly. You got it. Exactly. So yeah, the
Yeah.
idea is that the full quote is something like Democrats aren't the enemy, the media is the enemy, and the way you deal with the media is to flood the zone with shit. And so what that means is whenever there's some sort of catastrophe or something bad happens in the Republican Party, the idea is to make a lot more news and confuse people. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because the last guest is exactly what we're talking about. You know, he was bouncing around. He's like Musk, Epstein, FTX. Like these are all right wing talking points. And so Andrew Tate, he even dropped like all these like right wing things. And so the idea is to like, you know, like throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. Like Republicans and MAGA
Yeah.
specifically throw so much shit at the wall that even if you're not paying attention, something is going to stick. And I think Americans are just too busy and too like, you know, under the capitalist grind that they just can't pay attention to politics as much. And so when they hear stuff like this in the news and even, you know, middle or left of the road outlets or whatever, like cover it as like, look at this crazy thing that Tucker Carlson said today, people still pick up that news. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or like, or look at this crazy thing that Marjorie Taylor Green said. You know, like what the
Well,
left,
what do you
the
think
left
she meant
also.
by that? What do you think when she said that she would have won and they would have been armed? Really, what does a victory for her look like?
I mean, it's a show of strength. It's like pure. It's like one of the tenets of fascism, right? Is like no one else but me can fix this. Like that is a tenet of like fascist leaders is that no one else but me. Like I'm a strong man. You never back down. You never apologize. It's always somebody else's fault. It's a signal to the base of like I'm a strong leader. Blah blah. I will fight for you. Like leading up to January 6th, all those like political ads and emails of like fight for Trump, join Trump's army, stand back and stand by. All of these are like violent signals to people who
So, so
are
in the
disenfranchised.
comments, because I'm bringing up Trump's statement a few days before Marjorie Taylor's about terminating the Constitution. Many folks are suggesting it
Yeah.
was sarcasm. How do you view him suggesting the Constitution should be terminated and he should be rightfully restored as the country's president? You think that was just sarcasm?
No, absolutely not. And being, you know, shot down by other folks is also kind of points that out too.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. I mean, it's good to have you follow him, give it a little bit of balance. Of Mark, I got to move it on, man. Come on back through.
Appreciate it. Talk to you later, Tim.
Always a pleasure. All right, looking in the
You are not being honest, says Farlow. Come in the box. I will let you project your measure of honesty on me in front of, 278 people. By the way, folks, tap the screen. Should be twice as many in here. This is a MAGA-friendly program. Although we don't have a lot of MAGA coming in today, understand, don't let my name sway you. This is MAGA friendly. Doesn't matter if we agree or not. I'm not going to ban, block, or censor you for your commentary. So come on in the box. We'll talk about it. What is host doing but throwing shot? He does this every day by only talking about Trump and else. We were talking about, what is her name? Brittany Griner for the last 3 shows. And whether Biden made the right move in bringing her back home. So, Twisted 77. By the way, Twisted, you a friend of the program. How you gonna come with some bullshit like that? You're MAGA, and you're always welcome here, Twisted. Come on back to the program. Come on in the box anytime. But yeah, we don't always talk about Trump here. In fact, right now, today's primary broadcast is about Marjorie Taylor Green. Looking in the comments, USA is wounded. Bring Trump back. Is he going to come with some gauze? Maybe some stitches? Maybe a scalpel? All right, looking in the box. Better yet, the comments rather. What does it say here? Biden money laundered billions in United States funds through the Ukraine, says Terror Barrett's here. Well, in regards to whether Biden, 10% to the big guy, has committed any crimes, well, you got a Republican Congress as of next month. Let's see what they come up with. My guess is, even if Biden actually has something there, or you're going to start with Hunter Biden, obviously, and I do believe with Hunter Biden, where there is smoke, there's fire, but can they tie it to his dad in the remaining 2 years that Biden has in office, assuming he doesn't run again? My answer would be no. And I'm not saying that Biden is innocent. I'm just simply saying Trump has laid the groundwork for how to delay. Biden only has 2 years left. You don't think he could delay that shit? I mean, first they got to get to the pinnacle of success in proving that Hunter Biden is wrong. And then they can go after Joe Biden if they can tie some of Hunter Biden's issues to Joe Biden. 2 years, a president of the United States? Trump has delayed the system for 6 years just to get their hands on his taxes. That's all of the time that Biden would have left, even if he's reelected. 6 years. So even if you believe that there is plenty of bullshit available on Hunter Biden and you believe he deserves to spend the rest of his time in prison, I'm just here to suggest to you that Trump has proven you can delay the courts for a very long time. And I strongly believe that if Biden is no longer in the political sphere of running for president, they're not going to fuck with him anyway. They just want him out the way. If Trump was not currently running for president, I don't believe there would be a lot of fanfare in going after him. The same way it was lock her up about Hillary Clinton. She deserved to be in prison. The minute she stopped running for president, the investigations against her pretty much dried up. Even the Republican Party is not pursuing Hillary Clinton at all. If she was still running for president, they would still be after her. So I don't believe that anything of any significance is going to come out of the chase of President Biden. Maybe Hunter, you may have time to develop something on Hunter, but President Biden is not going to face any sort of conviction. He may be charged, he may be investigated, but all he got to do is follow Trump's playbook. Do not answer subpoenas, take it all the way up to the Supreme Court on every blow, et cetera. All of this stuff takes time. Even with a Republican Supreme Court, it takes time for that to happen. That's all you got to do. Trump laid it out. Looking in the box, it is 228 Chris. Good afternoon and welcome to the program. 228, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tim. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Marjorie Taylor Green we're talking about with her statement that if she and Steve Bannon were in charge on January 6th, they would have won and they would have been armed. What do you think she means by that?
To be honest, I didn't hear about that until I heard you say it today, so I don't know anything about it, but I'm not a big Marjorie Taylor Green fan anyway, so who knows what kind of craziness comes out of her mouth.
Yeah, but what do you think a victory on January 6th looks like as opposed to, I mean, by her saying that she's clearly indicating a loss. And by the way, anybody watching, all you got to do is go to YouTube and type in Marjorie Taylor Green at this point. It's such big news. It's literally the first video. She's on stage wearing a black outfit and she's making this statement. So What do you believe a Marjorie Taylor Green victory would look like, though? Assuming, knowing who she is, what does a victory look like? And suggesting that Steve Bannon would have helped her plan it.
Tim, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been watching you for so long and love the program, and I just saw that there was nobody in the box. And usually by the time it gets to where I'm next in the queue, it's when I got to get back to work. Uh, so what I really wanted to ask you was something more along the lines of what you were talking about yesterday with the trade with Russia. And if you had heard of, I think his name's Mark Fogel, who's still in prison in Russia for the same exact thing as Griner, and he got a 14-year sentence. And why was he not part of that deal?
Well, first of all, Brittany Griner received 9 years in prison, and at the time, the Russian government admitted she got the maximum sentence. So how did this guy get 14 years if Griner only got 9 and that was the max?
I don't have that answer for you, but
Yeah.
I heard it on another live, and I looked it up, and it's I just Google searched Americans currently in prison in Russia, and it had Griner, it had I can't remember the Marine's name, and then it had this Mark Fogel guy.
Yeah. You broke up. Are you there?
Griner did. He had a small medical amount for his spinal surgery, and he's a history teacher, so they can't say that he's a
Well,
spy or anything like that.
here's the response. Here's the response, because you do have many folks suggesting that Fogel and Griner did the same crime. Why did Griner come home first? Well, the fact that there is a 5-year disparity in how long they were sentenced in prison, and with Russia saying that Griner received the max, makes it clear that they did not do the same thing. In fact, Fogel was found with several ounces of marijuana on him, whereas Griner had a vape pen on him. So the level of possession is not the same, even though people are telling you that. I'm not here to suggest that Fogel did not also get railroaded with a ridiculous amount of time, but he certainly had more product on him than Brittany Griner. They didn't do the same thing.
Okay, then the source that I had looked up was wrong then, because it said
Just look at their time.
less than an ounce or something like that. But
Yeah. Look at
I can admit when I'm wrong. Like
Go ahead.
somebody else in the comments said that he had lived in Russia for 10 years before he got arrested there. So if that's true, then that's a pretty big difference as well.
Yeah. Not only that, but you have to ask the question, if he was there for such a bullshit charge, why didn't Trump bring him home? So there's clearly more at play than folks are letting on. I've had folks come on some of my social media sites when I asked if Trump was in office, would Brittany Griner still be in Russia? And many folks have suggested, no, he would have brought her home and Whelan, not even knowing that Whelan was in prison for 2 years when Trump was in office. But they're making Trump sound almost like a Superman. He could have gotten anybody free. Meaning they don't even realize Whelan spent 2 years in prison while Trump was in office. They're making it sound like Whelan got arrested on the day Biden was inaugurated, and Biden is such a lackluster president that he can't bring anybody back home. But they don't realize Trump did nothing for Whelan, which is what the Whelan family is coming forward and saying, is that I think Whelan's brother released a tweet stating that Trump, after Biden brought back home Griner, the Whelan family released a tweet saying that Trump has said more about their brother incarcerated in the last 24 hours than he did the entire time he was president. And they suggested Trump didn't give a damn about their brother.
Well, I mean, I think that comes back to a point that you made a couple of days ago where, it's all about, the media and how much it's covered, and also,
Right.
how much political capital can be gained by, action or non-action.
Right. Exactly. So it's not that Trump has this superpower status that he can bring anybody back home. He's doing exactly what Biden does. He'll bring back folks home if it's politically expedient for him. Biden chose Griner over probably Mark Fogel because it is in the best interest of his political career. I mean, he's going to get a hell of a lot of votes from the LGBT community, the black community, the basketball community. If he had brought home Fogel, it would have been, back page news. So, I mean, I don't doubt that he probably made the best position or the best decision politically, assuming he had access to bring Mark Fogel home to begin with.
Yeah, but it's great that we got an American home. Obviously, we have more work to
Right.
do. I wish we hadn't been, because just from the optics of it, we're giving billions of dollars to Ukraine to fight against Russia, and then we give Russia back their arms dealer, and it just seems counterproductive to me. But
Well, yeah, if you believe that
I wasn't in the talk, so
yeah. If you believe that
go ahead,
after
sir. I'm sorry.
13 years, yeah, if you believe that after 13 years off the street, whereas the CIA has had complete unfettered access to this guy, if you believe after all that Russia's just going to put him back on the street and he's going to go right back to dealing arms, yeah, it's a bad trade. But there's no way I'm going to believe that Russia, particularly being led by Vladimir Putin, who is a former head of the KGB, he knows exactly what the CIA can do to a man, how they can pre-program or reprogram somebody. You're not going to take this guy back from the United States and give him all the powers and rights to trade arms that he had before he left without some serious psychological evaluation. You don't know what the CIA has done to him for the last 13 years. Plus, he is 13 years older. I think the guy is in his mid 50s. You're not going to just throw him back out there and let him start dealing arms. In addition to all of that, he still has several arrest Interpol warrants from a host of other countries. I don't believe that guy is going back into business.
So, do you think it's on Putin's side? It's him getting somebody out that his supporters or his base is going to be happy with, just like Biden getting Griner out?
Could be.
Do you
It
think
could be
it's
because
just the looks
when you
of it?
look at it, it could be because if you just look at the trade alone, Putin won. It's a better outcome for Putin than it is for the United States because Brittany Griner was essentially arrested for nothing. So it's clearly a better win for Putin. So he could be doing it to help his base.
I got you. All
Yeah,
right, well that's all today, Tim. Man, I'm glad to finally get a chance to talk to you for a minute. But hope you have a blessed one.
absolutely. You too. Come on back through anytime, man. All right.
In the comments, that guy is getting into politics, says it's Mark. You don't know that. Like I said, you've been in the United States for 13 years. Who's to say that the Russians might trust you? If you had an American that was held for that long in Russia and he came back to the United States and tried to run, many folks in this country, particularly some of my conspiracy theorist folks, would probably suggest, no, he's an undercover Russian at this point. You just don't know. I mean, you don't know. So I don't feel confident suggesting that this merchant of death guy is just going to immediately go back into business and start doing what he did. I can't see how the Russian government would even trust him. You need to know what happened to him when he was in America. Did we keep him in solitary confinement? Is his mind all fucked up? Does he have PTSD? Did the CIA stick a probe up his ass? You don't just put him out there. That doesn't make sense. Looking at the comments, it is unapologetic.
Man, we're talking about a victory for Marjorie Taylor Green. Which, by the way, a subject. I'm just being honest. I always enjoy talking to MAGA, but I'm being honest when I say this. I don't think MAGA really wants to talk about what Marjorie Taylor Green said. And that's just based on my analyzation of the shit that's happening right now. Unapologetic black men, good afternoon.
You exactly right, man. Because it's like excuse me. It's like I said, man. The Republican Party has been acting like they are from the WWF. If you put a damn belt on their shoulder, you wouldn't even know that they were talking about politics on stage.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm
And
saying this because I've had some strong folks on the right come to the program, and I'm asking them, they don't want to talk about this shit. It's like Fight
no,
Club. It's like talking to Brad Pitt
no.
about Fight Club. He don't want to
It's
hear it.
Remember I said that this snowball that the Republican Party is going to go through, uh, trying to defend their, wild accusations and their claims that they were going to make America great again, and it has turned into again, like a WWF match. You hear Marjorie Taylor Green talking about she's gonna
Yeah.
win. There's no mechanism in our government. Even if she takes out our secession line, there's a secession line for the secession line, ma'am.
But shit, he was talking about taking out the VP and the Speaker of the House. They
And
deep in the freaking line. Let me ask you
yeah,
this though. In the comments, JoJo Kincaid said, "Finally, conservatives are stepping up." How do you take that? What does that mean?
I want to say it nicely. I want to say it nicely, but I'll say it like this: our military budget is $860 million this year, right?
Wow, wow, wow. That's
That makes
ridiculous.
that little luggage cart of pew pews they brought to the hotel. Like me and you jumping in the sea like Aquaman having sex with a whale. Like it's not.
Yeah, but
It's
I
not gonna
gotta
work.
ask you. I get your point, but obviously the average citizen cannot take on the U.S. military. But how do you respond? A lot of folks believe that even if we had a leader in this country that was promoting tyrannies like Saddam Hussein
Mhm.
or Hitler type stuff, that the military would not follow the orders. Like if you wanted the military to do things to the American people, and make no mistake about it, there's a lot of MAGA in the military. There's a lot of liberals in the military. So there may be some validity. Look at how the Capitol Police behaved on January 6th. There were
Mhm.
some MAGA in blue uniforms there that day.
Oh yeah, it's that's why they don't want to pass HR 7988, which will be a extensive vetting throughout our entire government and law enforcement agency, weeding out people like that.
Mm,
So are the conservatives scared of their own laws? We see it.
yeah.
And this right now is, like I always say, what Marjorie Taylor Green is doing is manufacturing fear and then telling her constituents, I need you guys to do this for me. And if you guys go out there and you do things for the Republican Party, you're just proving our point.
You mean like take out a
That
substation?
I don't care what they do. If you're trying to force to make America great again, you're proving everybody's point. You guys never had the country's better interest in mind. They never did, and you keep proving it with uh, situations like this, where I know Republicans are just facing palm, like tired of defending y'all asses. Like, and the sad part about it is, sad part about it, the district she comes from, she has a long career. Like I don't,
Yeah,
unless another Republican, knocks her off. But I don't see her going anywhere
I don't see
anytime
it either.
soon.
I
Yeah,
don't
this
see it.
is
She's like the AOC on our side. She's so outspoken and love for that purpose that yeah, she'll be around for a while. Spinky J in the comments, I want to run this by you. Spinky J in the comments said, I believe the military has stopped Trump a few times during this term. You think there may be any validity to that?
no validity. We have 5-star generals saying that they did.
You mean
I
like
don't
when it's
mean
called
stopped.
China?
I don't mean
Called China?
stopped. I don't mean they stopped him because, like, let's be real. You can't stop Trump from writing love letters to Kim and Xi and them. Like, if he wanted to write his
You
love
have a
letters, he
way
was
with
going to write his
words.
love letters. You know.
You have
But
a,
when generals, 5-star generals, have said that they've never had meetings with presidents that didn't want to listen to their intel, that didn't want to listen to their professional suggestions and or uh, basically, we all know Trump. I know about the military more than the military, and the man's right sleeve looks like he's going on prom, like all the medals on this man's shit, and Trump telling him he doesn't know what he's talking about is
yeah.
disrespectful to 5-star generals. So it makes you weary about any, um, I guess, demands or commands that he gives to them. It makes you leery about it, and again, people don't know about it, but the military, if they want to, they can, uh, I guess, disobey the president if he
Well,
makes
no, I mean,
ridiculous.
don't you in the military? And I'm not savvy on the military, so I'm not trying to play like I'm pleading ignorance on this. But I thought if in the military you take an oath to the commander in chief, don't you? You're supposed to
Yeah, you do,
follow.
and you can, and you've seen people just like Trump administration when he denied the election. People were walking off. People forget that 100 something of his administration walked off. A lot of them stayed
Yeah,
because they said he would have just replaced me with a yes man. That's
Yeah,
scary.
they did say that. Yeah, they did. Some of
That's
them did say
scary.
they.
A
Yeah.
lot of generals said that. I didn't walk away because I knew that he would have found a yes man. And America, again, if you're trying to make America great again, and you're calling people that has kept this country secure for decades, you're telling these people that I will get somebody to tell me yes. I'm not going anywhere then, sir. So again, uh, people that he could appoint, elect, fire, he did, and we watched it time after time. He
So
couldn't do.
before I'm moving on, what does when he said terminate the Constitution? I got a lot of folks on my right that are suggesting that was sarcasm. What did you hear when Trump was suggesting he needs to be restored to the rightful position, even if they have to terminate the Constitution? What does that mean to you?
He sounded like he was part of Black Lives Matter to me. Because we know exactly what he meant. Parts of the Constitution, bills of rights, laws, articles that fit his narrative to get him back in office, we should terminate those parts. We know he don't mean terminate everything, put me back in office, because then that's a dictatorship. But he meant whatever parts of the Constitution, bill of rights, anything in our laws and our Constitution that fits me getting back into office, then let's terminate those. And again, that's what Black Lives Matter is saying. Like
That
we
is
need to
true.
terminate.
That is
We
true. And
need to
I've
turn.
said that. I've said
Yeah, we
that
need to
before. That,
terminate
that
parts of the Constitution, and we got Daddy Trump throwing the fist up with us. I love this.
I've
Hell
said
yeah,
that
terminate the
before. That
Constitution.
Yeah, after that election, the folks on the right, they did start sounding a hell of a lot like Black Lives Matter. They suddenly didn't trust police. They were
Yeah,
anti-FBI. The government was
yeah,
against them. I'm like, shit,
yeah,
welcome to the party. I got to move it
yeah.
on, no black
Right.
man. All
Hey,
right, good talk.
make America great again. I am printing out Black Lives Matter shirts. You can have them for free. Welcome. Welcome.
MAGA and BLM holding hands. All right.
Okay, real quick in the comments, Juice873, I appreciate that. MAGA, please join the conversation and make your voices heard, please, in all capital letters. I agree with that. By the way, this is a MAGA-friendly program. Do not let the name deter you. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 30,000 likes. I appreciate that. There is no banning or blocking. Yeehaw! Constar G-Ma. Appreciate the hat and mustache. Nothing but love to you. But yeah, there is no banning or blocking here for your commentary. If you disagree with the host, nobody gives a damn. I give you plenty of time to state your point. I am a huge proponent of free speech. I don't ban anybody's speech here. Out of the matrix. Out of the matrix. Good afternoon and welcome back to the program. It's been a minute, but good to have you back, Matrix.
Hey, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Not too bad at all. Marjorie Taylor Green suggesting that if she was in charge on January 6th, if her and Steve Bannon were in charge on January 6th, they not only would have won, they would have been armed. She's been caught on stage saying it live. What does that mean to you to hear her say that?
Yeah, I went to watch it, and I went and saw it in its full context. And the way I took it was that she was pointing out the fact that her and Steve Bannon had been the target of the January 6 hearings, and that there's been innuendos in the mainstream media suggesting that she was somehow a point of contact to some of the people who broke in. And her response was, if me and Steve Bannon were in charge of that, being as pro Second Amendment as we are, we would have won. And so I think it was an insensitive joke, an improper joke. I don't think that she should have made such a joke. That being said, I believe that it's been blown completely out of context by the left, as if she said,
Whoa, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when
but
you think about what happened on January 6th with the loss of life for Ashley Babbitt, the way it looked globally for America you're right. It's nothing to joke about.
yeah, I don't think she should have joked about it. But I think that for people that are suggesting she made the comment as if, if she had a time machine and she was truly in charge, Donald Trump would still be president and they would have won. Like those comments weren't made. And I think people are adding.
So who would she? So based on your analysis, when she said she would have won, who would have been the losers?
I think she meant like the standoff in general. Like if she was in charge of some sort of, attempt to overthrow the government, her group that she would have led the charge on were pro Second Amendment
Okay,
and
she
wouldn't
would
have
have,
went there
but
armed.
that's the point. The point I'm making is she would have led the standoff, as you said. She would have been armed and won.
Right.
Who are the losers?
Honestly, man, that whole day, the whole fucking America lost. But I mean, you know, I to drive in on my point, the suggestion or the innuendos that are being made about her comments are not based on the context of the
Yeah, but I'm
what she
taking
said.
it. Exactly. I'm trying to follow you and take it from your context, but I'm still not clear if she is the winner. You're not giving me a clear context of who, because she's making it sound like if she was in charge of Steve Bannon, what happened on that day would have been different than what actually happened. She's
What?
saying she would have won and somebody would have lost. You're not giving me clarity on who would have lost.
Well, I would say whoever they were going in there to go after would have lost, which would have been the Democrat Party.
With guns. She said she would have been armed.
Yeah, that's
So she would have went into the Capitol building with a gun to go after Democratic politicians.
well, she goes into the Capitol all the time with a gun on her side, but I mean that's a whole other story.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
based on what you're saying, how is that not overthrowing democracy? You're going to go into the
no,
Capitol building with a
I'm not
gun.
advocating. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just
I,
simply
I,
discussing the
I just
topic you chose to make the topic for
right,
today, which
right.
is that
Yeah, I
did
know
she
I'm
say
not
this?
accusing you. Yeah, fair enough. I'm not accusing you of advocating it, but I'm taking what you said because you're making it appear as if folks are misinterpreting it. But as you and I continue talking, even your interpretation is fairly similar to what they're talking about. She's going to go into the Capitol building with a gun, and the Democrats are going to lose. Isn't that what
Yeah,
the protesters were trying to do?
yeah. I listen. I'm not going to disagree with you on that whatsoever. What I'm saying is
Okay.
what she said was clearly insensitive and it was clearly sarcastic. Like anyone that wants to go watch the video, it's out there. Like you can watch it in its full form, or you could go to MSNBC, CNN, and you can just watch the part where she says that and none of the comments the first 10 minutes
Yeah,
before
but
that.
I don't. I think where you and I are disagreeing is that you're saying what she said was an insensitive joke, and it's not how people interpreted it. But when I asked you to give me your interpretation, it is essentially exactly like people were interpreting it. That she was going to the January 6th protesters. If you listen to the liberals, for instance, I understand you may not agree with them, and you have a right not to agree with them. But the liberals are interpreting it as if the protesters wanted to go in there, restore Trump to his rightful position, and take out the opposition. When I asked you what Marjorie Taylor Green wanted to do, you said that the liberal interpretation is wrong, but
Yeah.
according to you, she wanted to go in there and take out the opposition.
Well,
So,
the whole context of what she was saying was simply saying if this was a true insurrection, as the left has painted it to be, that everyone that was there that day are pro Second Amendment advocates, and they would have went there if they had that full intention, and that was the intent of the entire group, armed to the teeth. And if they were to able to make such, I mean, I'm just basing this off of past comments and just drawing my own conclusion here. But if they were to have faced what they were capable of actually getting to without guns, imagine with guns. So I
yeah.
think what she was the larger point she was trying to make is that if this is what the Democrats are calling an insurrection, a real insurrection, would have been a completely different, image to the
Okay.
American people.
Yeah. But so how do you respond to the FBI and the Capitol Police? I'm assuming maybe you didn't watch the hearings, but at the hearings they stated that they actually saw guns in the crowd and that they advised President Trump he needed to be taken out securely because folks in the crowd had guns, and Trump responded by saying they're not after me. So even the president was advised these folks have guns. And also, in regards to folks suggesting that they did not have guns, my only question is, how do you know? Nobody was frisked or patted down. How do you know that entire crowd was unarmed?
I mean, we don't, but I think that with
Right.
all of the eyes that have looked at this and with all of the emphasis that's been put on it, if there was, we would most definitely know about it by now with the political theater that's taken place on Capitol Hill since January 6th.
Yeah, but there are radio transmissions while it was actively taking place of police calling for backup, saying that they have guns on them.
I thought now I could be wrong, but I thought that it had to do with space for the crowd, and they wanted to install metal detectors. And Trump said, "No, that'll take up too much space. Get rid of them. If anyone's got anything, they're not here to hurt me." That's what I
Yeah,
thought
but
the context of that comment was. I didn't think it was.
Yeah, but even if you go with it from your context, the president is being advised by his security detail that a crowd is dangerous, and his response is they're not dangerous to me. Then what does he think they're dangerous to? I mean, he's essentially saying as long as they're not here to hurt me, and let them do what they got to do. Is that the way you're taking it?
I just think he thought that you just said that they I guess wanted to remove him, secure him, or whatever. And his comment was, "They're not here to hurt me." So, I mean, I guess that he didn't feel threatened by anyone that would be armed. I mean, he is pro Second Amendment, so I'm not surprised by that.
And you don't see how does that look wrong at all with the president? They're not here to hurt me, even though his own security detail, the people who are trained and hired to make sure he's safe, are telling him this crowd is dangerous, and his response is, well, shit, they're not a danger to me. You don't see how that's irresponsible?
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, Trump hasn't always made the most fucking bright
Okay.
comments or decisions for the betterment of the other side. I mean, that's after the 4 years he went through, I'm surprised he wasn't leading the charge down there to the Capitol Hill, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, he wanted to. If you watch the January 6th hearings, they're claiming that he tried to reach above the front seat and stir the car. He really, according to the Secret Service and those who were in the vehicle with him, he really did want to lead the charge, and the Secret Service prevented him from doing so. That's if you believe the testimony. That's what came out. But I got to move it on, Matrix. Appreciate you coming back, man.
Yep, will do, brother. Have a good day.
Absolutely. Good talk.
As you see, like I said, it doesn't matter if we agree or disagree. I always give folks a chance to state their point. In the comments, Chris says 3 words: I hate MAGA. Wow, that is strong. That is very strong. Seriously, he should have the where attacking him all 4 years. I guess your grammar's off on it, but you're basically saying Trump should have reacted violently because he was being attacked for the entire 4 years. Is that the response of any president that is being attacked, is they should react violently? I mean, how long have we been saying Biden has dementia, or he's sleepy, or he doesn't know what he's doing? Hell, Barack Obama was born in Kenya, and Hillary Clinton is drinking the blood of infants. Should they all react with violence? I mean, make no mistake about it. No matter how unfair you believe the treatment of Trump was, he's not the first president in history to be attacked. I mean, isn't there a video evidence of a senator on the congressional floor saying that his entire goal was to make Obama a one-term president? It's not something that's unique to Trump. In fact, Trump has engaged in attacking from day one both his predecessor and the guy after him. You think Trump gave Obama a chance from day one, or gave Biden a chance from day one? If you want to be fair about something, just look at what you're dealing with. Going back to the box, it is the one and only CMB Corrado, a friend of the program. CMB, good afternoon. Welcome back, man.
How you doing? How you doing? Your last MAGA that was speaking. I mean, he brought logic to the table that nobody else was bringing. I mean, well, we all know how the majority of people love to take a little section of something that somebody says, especially if it's on the other side.
You mean like defund the police, take a section of it and run with it?
Yeah, and it just doesn't. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that and then you were talking about Trump and his security telling him to move out, and he said no, but they're not coming after me. That's kind of like when Ronald Reagan was giving a speech and a gunshot went off, and he just nodded his head, looked up, and said, "Oh, you missed me." You know what I'm saying?
I get your point, but there wasn't 1,000 people taking a shot at Ronald Reagan at the same time.
Well, you
I
don't
don't
know
know.
because all it took was one later on to
Yeah,
actually shoot him. So,
I don't know if
but
I.
what I'm saying is that
Go ahead.
when you've got a man in charge of a country like the United States, which is supposed to be the most powerful company in the world, not company,
Country,
is
country.
country. And you got to have the person in charge. He's got to make you feel secure. I mean, I'd like to have a discussion on your show about how people actually feel. I mean, do these Democrats, do they actually feel like the country is? I mean, I don't understand how
You
they
see,
even.
wait a minute. Okay, I'll respond to that in regards to do we feel more secure under Biden than Trump? The first question I would ask, have you seen all of the video footage of all the dead Russian soldiers in the Ukraine, specifically because Biden keeps sending them weapons to help them kick the Russians' ass? That's a pretty strong tenet that Biden can brag about. Because a lot of folks on the right believe that if Trump was president, one or two things would have happened. Either the Russians would have never invaded the Ukrainians, or that Trump would have never given so much money to the Ukrainians to help. Either way, if Trump was president, a lot of dead Russian soldiers today would still be alive because he wouldn't have
Exactly.
done all of what Biden has done to kill so many of them.
Right, but
So
I don't. I killing somebody, an innocent person. Okay, just because your
you
leader.
think the dead Russian soldiers in Ukraine are innocent people?
Yeah, they're there just to fight for their country.
They're not even in their country. They're on somebody else's land. It's
Okay,
like
but
me coming in your house
so that
and
makes
your
it
wife
okay to
shooting
kill
me
them
and saying,
all. Does that
wait,
make
say
it
that
okay?
again?
Because does that make it okay to kill them all? I mean,
You,
next thing you
you're
know,
in a,
we're gonna listen to this. Next thing you know, we're gonna be praising Biden because of all the soldiers that got killed down in Ukraine.
You're in a
That
foreign
shit don't that
country.
shit doesn't work
Wait a
like
minute,
that.
hold on. CMB, you're in a foreign country driving on the streets with a tank. You're telling me that they don't deserve to have their asses kicked for that?
War is not something that you want to be happy that you're taking credit because you sent over the atomic bomb and blew it up. That's just
Yeah,
not.
but wait a
I mean,
minute. That's not what we're talking about. You're telling me the Russians that are on Ukrainian soil are innocent people. That's what you said.
I'm telling you that those people are started. I mean, obviously, right now they're in the wrong, but they're just following orders, just like our military would be following orders if we had to go fight in some country. When they leave their house, they're just a military person going to do a job that their country has asked them to. You're
They are
making it seem
killing,
like you're
they are
making it
in
seem
the
like
country, CMB,
yeah, but
they
you're
are in Ukraine, taking out the power, starving the people, and killing Ukrainians. What are they supposed to do?
okay, but what the point that I'm making is that you're trying to glamorize the fact that these poor people are out there, killing each other, and I don't care what side you're on or whatever. At the end of the day, a human is a human, and when you kill him, you kill him, and taking credit for it, or having Joe Biden saying, "Yeah, I sent $80 billion down there to make sure everybody died." I mean, that's bullshit. I mean,
So
that's weak.
so let me ask you this question: if Biden wiped his hands clean and just let that conflict, let the chips fall where they may, what do you think would happen over there?
Well, for starters, I think Ukraine already has him in the corner, and and
No, but they're in the corner because of Biden's help. If Biden had never helped the Ukrainians out, what do you think would have happened over there?
The president of Ukraine would have come forward and ratted on Biden for all the dishonest shit that he had done, from fucking making the district attorney get fired, or they weren't, or him and Obama weren't going to give him billion dollars, and he had till
Okay,
6 o'clock that day to
Okay,
make that happen.
let's go with your response. Let's go with your response. If Biden had not have helped the Ukrainians, Zelensky would have come forward, gave the goods on Biden. Biden would have been impeached and taken out of office. My question to you, though, is what would have happened to the Ukrainian citizens, the Ukrainian sovereignty as a nation? What would have happened to that if Biden did not help them out?
I mean, nothing good comes out of war, and I'm not a psychic, so I can't tell you what would have happened.
I think you're avoiding the answer. Russia would have
No, I'm not.
overwhelmed.
I'm being honest with you. I'm being straight out. That's from the heart. I mean, war is war, and nobody wants to have anything to do with it. But if you want to speculate on what something happened, I mean, you know, you can't speculate on shit like that because you don't know. And just like,
Okay.
just like taking credit for it, next thing you know, the Democrats are going to be having a party because Joe Biden sent $80 billion down there to fight that war. I mean,
I get your point. You're not a Biden fan. You have a right to be that. I get
no,
that.
it's not
But
that. It's not so much being a Biden fan. I'm not a fan of what this country has turned into in the last few years.
were
And
you
how
a fan of what the
American people, suffering. And I can give you a whole list of things that prices of shit that has cost double than what it did before, and all the percentages of shit that has gone up.
Yeah, but there's more to the country than just its economy. I get that. The economy under Biden sucks. You hear the right talking about that all the time, but there's more to our nation than just the price of fuel. So I'm asking you this. When you say that the last couple of years you don't
Fuel,
like this,
food.
wait a minute, let me ask you a question. I'll let you respond. You're saying that you don't like the way where this country is heading in the last few years. How did you feel about this country on January 6th?
Well, I was ashamed of the people that actually went down there and acted like fools. But then, when I saw the whole picture, including all of the video of the people that were dressed up as Trump supporters being let in on the West Wing, then I started to maybe put together 2 and 2, and I was getting 4. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to figure out certain things. If a camera is showing you that somebody's shooting somebody or something's going down, that camera does not lie.
Yeah.
So, and I don't see anybody yet giving me an explanation for why those Trump supporters were let in by security, by the police on the west side of the building.
I got a response to that. They have arrested, I believe, 400 plus protesters there on that day. My question to you is, because you said you're not seeing anybody giving an explanation, why is it not that the folks who have been arrested, who would have the most to gain by pointing out Antifa did it, or it was cannot think of the guy Ray Ebbers or Ray Epps or whatever? Why isn't the actual folks who have been arrested not yelling out Antifa did it, Ray Epps did it, it was Black Lives Matter? They're actually taking credit and pleading guilty when they could actually say what you're saying and help their cases. Why are they not pleading this stuff if that's
Because
what happened? You don't hear any of them saying the Capitol Police let me in. Why is that?
because more than likely, and this is I hate to say shit if I'm not 100%. This is just an assumption, okay? But those people that got in to the Capitol building on the west side are the ones that they're not the ones in prison. The ones in prison are the ones that were a little bit, or a little bit whatever you want to call them, fanatics or whatever, and chose to go in through the front. And, you got people like that. You got crazy people that are just fanatics and shit like that. But I bet you $1 that all those people that went in through that west side, that the police let them in, all those people on that camera, if they really wanted to dissect that situation, those people aren't in jail. I guarantee it. Just like they let them in, they let them out the back, and made sure that they weren't going to get arrested. I'm just saying, there's a lot of shit. There's too much shit.
All right, fair
It
enough.
smells.
So at the end of the day, when Marjorie Taylor Greene says if she was in control with Steve Bannon, they would have won and they would have been armed. What does that mean to you?
That means, I mean, the way that she said it, and of course, everybody that wants to take it out of content takes it out of content. But basically,
Okay.
what she was saying was that if she had anything to do with it, the whole thing would have been more organized instead of a bunch of fanatics kicking down a fence
Why
and
didn't she
going
say
in.
organized then? She said they would have won. What is a
They would
victory
have
like to
won
her?
because if you're organized, listen, in a war, if you're organized, you're at the end, you're going to win.
But if you win, who are the losers? Who is she saying that would have lost if she had won?
She wasn't getting to that point. She was letting the people
She's
know.
wait,
She
wait,
was
wait.
letting, hang on a
She
second.
said
Hold
she
up a
would have.
minute.
Okay.
Hold up a minute. She was letting people know that if the Republicans really had anything to do with that whole thing, aside from some of the fanatics that were Republicans, that it would have been a more organized takeover.
I get
That's
all of
all she
that.
was saying.
But she used the words won. You can't win unless somebody is a loser. Who are the losers? She actually used the word win. She didn't say organized. You're giving her a word that she never stated. She
Because
said we
because
would have won. Who
because
is the loser?
to be honest with you, she would have better off not saying anything at all.
But she
And
did.
saying,
She
but
said it. She
right,
said,
but
I'm trying to let me make it clear to you. I'm trying to make sure we don't misinterpret it. I want to get CMB's interpretation. I want to get this right. The woman says she would have won. Who represents the loser?
whoever whoever got in their way.
Who would get in Marjorie Taylor's way on January 6th while she's trying to win?
Well, if she had a team and they were all organized, probably nobody. At the end of the, I mean,
She
come
would have
on.
won. She would have won over nobody.
I mean, because the thing is, we're taking something that she said out of content, like the news loves to do, and
She's how
we're
is
trying
we
to
asking you?
make it into something that it's not, just because it sounded that way. I mean, could you imagine if you had to have a show on everything that Joe says that he says?
I
You
get
would
all of that. Joe
have to be
Biden.
on here 24/7.
That's fine. Joe Biden slips up on words all the time. I get your point. But if somebody says I would have won, how is it taking it out of context to assume there has to be a loser? You can't be victorious over nothing. Something, you have to beat something. What was she talking about being winning over? That's not taking that out of context. That's a legitimate question. You would have won on January 6th. Who represents the losers?
Well, I think she would have said it. I mean, like I said, me and you are here assuming, and when we
Okay,
assume, we make an ass out of you and me both. But
fair
she
enough.
would have won the fact that if they wanted entry into the Capitol building, they would have made entry into the Capitol building without having any kind of casualties or any kind of riots, because everything would have been organized and
All right.
and
I
you
get
know,
it. I
I
get it.
keep it
Come on back
100.
to. I gotta move it on. I gotta move it on. CMB. You know you're
All
always
right,
a
good to
friend of the
see you.
program. You too. Come on back through anytime. Like I said, folks. I love having MAGA. I like hearing folks from the right. We do not ban, block, or censor anyone. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 45,000 likes. We try to deliver good content, always preserving your First Amendment free speech rights on the program. Whether you agree with the host or not never means a damn thing. Come on through. I give you plenty of time in the box to state your point. Nobody's getting banned, censored, or blocked on this program. Looking in the comments, excuses, excuses, excuses. Oh, I'm so tired of hearing excuses. Shout out to Craig Smith. Hello, brother. What do you think about the FBI agents being part of the January 6th incident? Says, past Chell 23. You're talking about probably Ray Epps, some of that. Do I believe the FBI infiltrated the crowd on January 6th? Yeah.
They've infiltrated a lot of gangs, a lot of MS-13 members, the KKK. The FBI is known to infiltrate groups that they believe are a danger to the United States. And there is no denying that leading up to what happened on January 6th, there was a massive social media and digital trail that something big was going to take place. Even MAGA, even my beloved MAGA folks, are suggesting that Nancy Pelosi or some liberals were wrong in not activating the National Guard. So even if you support Trump, you're admitting that they should have done something and known that something bad was going to happen. You don't bring the National Guard to a love fest. So even folks on the right realized something bad was going to happen. Do I believe the FBI was there? Yes. But it's possible they were overwhelmed or underestimated where it was going to go. Not to mention, let's say Ray Epps. Many folks blame Ray Epps. He's in the crowd. That Ray Epps incited this. How do you incite somebody to go around threatening to kill the vice president? How much money would I have to pay you to get you to go to the Capitol building while the vice president is actually there and there are dozens of Capitol police? How much would you have to be paid to show up there, according to MAGA, with no weapon at all? How much would you have to be paid to go to the Capitol building while the vice president is in the building and say you're there to take the guy out? How much money would you demand to do that? So even if the FBI is blamed for supposedly inciting this, some of it doesn't make sense. You could not incite me to go threaten the life of the vice president. I understand it's a suicide mission. And I'm not going to get any credit in court for blaming Ray Epps. Even if Ray Epps was there like, hell yeah, I told him to do that shit. It's not going to help me out at all in court. Going back to the box, it is the one and only Shut Up Man 76. Won't you shut up, man? New caller, I believe it is. Shut 76.
Hey, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Welcome to the program. What do you think? Majorie Taylor Green said she would have won on January 6th if she had the aid of Steve Bannon and a firearm. How do you view what she said?
She said the quiet thing out loud and then said it was a joke afterwards.
Yeah. Who laughed at that? Who was that? Who was the humor? Who was the humor of that meant for?
That was not meant for anything. That was meant absolutely as she said it, and I don't give a shit what people say on the other side. She absolutely meant that 100%. Luckily, they were too stupid to get it done. But on the other parts of some of the things that have been commented on, first off, the way they backtrack when you say who would have won, who's the winner, the backtracking is amazing. Like, I'm just utterly amazed by the backtracking on that, because they don't want to say they would have took over. They would have tried to take over the government and did a coup.
Right.
That's one thing right there. Next thing is that, like, we're talking about when you were talking about Ukraine. All right, to the people, hopefully you're still listening. The reason why we are helping out Ukraine is not because they're our best friends. It's because if we allowed Putin to invade Ukraine, take that over, the next thing that happens is China goes after Taiwan.
Yeah. It's interesting you would say that. It's interesting you would say that because even Trump has stated that China is going to go after Taiwan next. The minute Putin went into the Ukraine, Trump himself started tweeting out or truthing out that next China was going to do that because Biden is a weak leader. Now that Biden is helping the Ukrainians kick a hell of a lot of Russian ass, we're blaming Biden for helping the Ukrainians kick a lot of Russian ass. I don't get it.
No, exactly, 100%. And the problem is that they're not seeing the global part of this. If you allow authoritarians and dictators to take over sovereign nations, you're going to go back to what we had in the 1940s. And what was that? Hitler taking over Poland, then taking over the rest of Europe. And then we didn't do anything until 1941, until we were attacked on December 7th. And then we finally got in and we changed the balance of power and how that was working out. If you help your ally, and they're an ally, they're not in NATO, but they're an ally. If you do not help them out in military areas, especially with our military expertise, and expose how Russia is such a weak military party. I mean, the world how weak Russia is as a military party. It also exposed to the world how weak China is because there's not one general in China that has seen war. Not one. Not one general
Mm.
has seen combat. Not one. That's why we can
That
take.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Real quick in the comments. I'll let you continue, but I always point out things I think that are kind of humorous. Hammer 2127 said it's like smoking a joint, getting cotton fed. He passed it to me. I just happened to see that, but I didn't know that the China. I guess you're right. Nobody in China. They have not been in any recent military conflict, so that does make sense.
China has not been in a military conflict since the Korean War, which they were indirectly in.
Yeah, yeah. We have been in war for a
Yeah,
long time. We
we,
are really good at war. I
yeah,
mean, the United States, yeah, we are very well versed at going to war. We know how to do it.
right. Well, that's the reason why, not to bring up Afghanistan, we had 2,500 troops in Afghanistan to control a fucking country.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay?
20 years. We've been at war for probably the last 20 years, and we got out of that war, which Trump bragged about. We've got out of all of the overseas wars, and we entered a proxy war right after that. We
Yeah.
love war. That's what the bumper sticker needs to be on American cars. We love war. We really do. But we're really good at it. So, I mean, I'm not defending it, but we are really good at it.
But the problem is that if you want to see politics in action, you're seeing politics in action. You're seeing coalitions being made. You're seeing standing by your word and your allies, and bringing other people into the fold, like AKA Finland and Sweden, and bringing them into NATO because Finland's largest border is with Russia. Their biggest competition is Russia from a military aspect of it. And Finland was dominated by Russia for over 100 years. They do not want Russia to come back in. So after World War II, they said, we're going to be neutral. You guys can be cool. We'll be cool. I'll be cool with you. You be cool with us. You guys don't invade. So we won't join NATO or anything like that. So they did that for many years. And knowing that there might not be another European war, well, guess what Putin did? He invades Ukraine. Now we have a European war. So therefore, Finland goes, fuck this shit. I got 85 allies on my back that I can kick your ass. So I'm going to join. So
Yeah.
it was the biggest strategic bungle. I can't talk to that. Of Putin's career because he thought he could just manpower through Ukraine, not knowing that guess who trained Ukraine's troops? We
Yeah,
did.
but at the end of the day, what is the future for Putin at this point? I mean, he's been accused of war crimes. I mean, will if we're able to negotiate some kind of peaceful ending to that conflict over there, will the world go back to doing business with Putin as usual? As I mean, can we accept Russia, like for instance, back into the G8? Can we deal with him the same way we did before his encroachment into a sovereign nation, which is the Ukraine?
I
Will
think,
things ever go back to normal?
well, I think Putin ended his career with this war. I do not think Putin will
I
get out.
agree.
I
Yeah,
don't think Putin will get out of this without either being killed or being overthrown by his people.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, and that might take a year, that might take 6 months, that might take 2 months. I don't know, but I don't think he's getting out of this alive. And it's not going to be the
Wow.
Ukraine that kill him.
Do we
So,
want in this country? I gotta move it on, but before I do, I'm gonna ask you this last question.
sure.
Do we want a globe that features civil unrest in Russia? If they have a coup in that country, there's no doubt that's going to affect all of Europe and possibly other places. Do we even want to entertain as much as we hate Putin? Look at what happened in Iraq once we got rid of Saddam Hussein. That country has never recovered. Do we want that happening in Russia?
Well, here's the thing that you're not seeing between Iraq and Russia. Iraq, there was a vacuum that was left out of there from the standpoint of like the Shiites and I forget
Yeah.
the other.
What would happen in Russia?
Russia is a little bit different. They have Navalny. He's in jail right now. That everyone's behind. The majority of the youth is behind him. Now, the only old guard that's with Russia at the moment are the literally the old guard from the 1990s when the Cold War ended. So therefore, I think it would be a little bit more peaceful than you think. I think it would be a little bit of bloodshed, But I don't think power
Okay.
vacuum.
All right. I don't know if I totally agree, but we'll leave it up to the gods to decide. I got to move it on though. Shut up, man. Love that name. Come
Yeah.
on back to it anytime. Good talk, by the way.
One more
Really
thing.
good points.
One more thing before you
All
hang
right,
me up.
go ahead.
You said one thing that was slightly inaccurate. The Speaker of the House cannot enact the National Guard.
I
Only the
didn't say that. I
yeah, yeah.
said the folks on the right thinks that. I
Okay.
didn't. I didn't confirm it. They do believe Nancy Pelosi's job was to call in the National Guard. I'm playing devil's advocate from the side of the right on that. I heard differently, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But I wasn't confirming it. I was just giving them their points and saying, based on what you're saying, it still doesn't make sense. That's what
Right.
I was pointing out. All
Okay.
right,
Cool, man. Talk to
got to move it on.
you.
Appreciate you coming through. All right, looking at the he cannot name one policy Biden passed or signed to affect the economy. I'll wait. Well, the issue with Biden and the economy is that if you name something, there's always a way to say no, that had no effect at all. Such as Biden getting the Syrians to pump more oil in June of this year, which has steadily brought down the price of fuel. If you don't like Biden, he didn't have nothing to do with that. So it depends on how you look at it. Any policy you come up with, let's say the Trump tax cuts. Trump gave some of the biggest tax cuts in recent history. If you don't like Trump, you're going to say he gave them all to rich people. There is always a way to spin a policy to suggest it didn't help no damn body. So I could go back and forth with you on Biden policies and actually name the ways and manners you would shoot them down, because they all can be if you know what you're doing. All right, looking at the box, it is Ernie. Good afternoon, Ernie. Welcome back to the program. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. We're talking about Marjorie Taylor Green suggesting that if she and Steve Bannon were in control on January 6th, they would have won and they would have had arms. What do you think she meant by that?
She honestly wanted to go in there and kill Mike Pence. That was their main goal, is to kill Mike Pence to stop the election. That
Well,
was their
don't
goal.
just
Ultimately,
for wait. Just for the sake, just for shits and giggles and the sake of the censors, try to avoid saying those three words back to back.
oh
K
yeah,
Mike Pence.
okay,
Don't say
yeah,
that. Go ahead.
yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
got you. They wanted
All right.
to hurt him. They wanted to hurt
Okay.
him. They wanted to stop the final election count and all that. And I mean, there's no if, and, or buts about it. I mean, why would you want to storm the Capitol if if you weren't there to do any damage?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
So why are so many folks on the right? Why are so many folks on the right? Even on my program, folks are suggesting that we are just misinterpreting the words of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
her words speak for themselves, though. That's what I don't understand. Yeah. I was listening to you. I mean, her words basically say, if I was in charge, we would have ended, we would have done it. You know what I mean? It would have been done. You know, Trump would have still been in office and none of this would have been going on. I mean, basically that's what she's saying, is if I was in charge, I would have taken over. We would have gone through the walls and everything else, and we would have gotten to, you know, whoever was in charge, and we would have stopped the electoral vote. That's basically what she's saying.
What about the notion that when Trump talked about terminating the Constitution, that was misinterpreted as well?
I didn't see no misinterpretation on that. I know exactly what he's trying to do. I mean, he wants his way to rule like a dictatorship. You know what I mean? Like that's how I see it personally. I mean, I'm an ex-Marine, and
appreciate your service,
that baffled
man.
me. Thank you. That baffled me to the core. You know what I mean? Because when I was a Marine, I had an oath to the Constitution of the United States of America, right? To defend ourselves from foreign and domestic. People don't realize it's domestic also, because we do have domestic terrors in our landscape, and we still have to protect ourselves from that, because, you know, like any government or any how you say country or whatever, everything's fragile. You know what I mean? The Roman Empire was fragile. The Aztec Empire was fragile. Anything could tip the balances, and there goes your government. So, you know, when our forefathers created the Constitution, they tried to make a balanced act. You know what I mean? It's not perfect,
Right.
but they try to balance, with, I agree with the Second Amendment. Do I agree with people open carrying out and open? Not necessarily, because I come from a Marine Corps mentality. When you're getting shot at, it's a different story. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
your brain acts differently. A normal Joe Schmo will say, "Oh, I would have done this or I would have done that," but you haven't been put in that position to react to
True.
shots being fired at you. I mean, take for instance Uvalde. You had all those police officers that basically freaked out. Saw the kid with you know a heavy AR-15 getting shot at. They had no way. They didn't know how to react. The one person that did react was a border patrol agent that was a part of the military before. He understood that sound. He understood what to do at that moment. That's why he was able to go in there and take down the suspect. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing between,
Right.
hey, I can go out to any gun range and I can shoot a gun and I'm proud of myself, right? But when it
Right.
comes down to being in front of a person, our mentality is we don't want to kill somebody. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
our
Yeah,
goal is
I've
not to
heard
kill
that
somebody. I mean,
before. Even though I've never been in the military, I have heard that you have to be put into a certain psychological way of life to be able to take a person's life. Taking a person's life goes against it just goes against our human interaction. So I have heard that it takes a
yeah,
certain
it's
type
it's it's a
of training to
psychological.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like the Marines, the Army, and the Navy. I mean, when we went through boot camp, they shot at us. You know what I mean? And we were crawling up a hill or whatnot, and we heard those live rounds. So you can distinct, you know what I mean, what a 50 cal sounds to a M16 sounds to, what a regular 45 would sound. And that's
Damn.
something that your brain has to learn. You know what I mean? I go, but a lot of these MAGA people are like, well, I would have done this or I would have done that. We just don't know what's going to happen until we're put in that position, into that,
Well, but you
you know
but
what I
you
mean?
do realize MAGA. There's a lot of militias in MAGA. A lot of them are real. They are real familiar with the sound of gunfire. They do.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
of those groups do train quite a bit.
And I hear on your show that a lot of them were like, "Oh, we could take over the government." I'm like, do they not understand that the U.S. government has drones, tanks, and the military has the military might
Well,
that even
yeah.
if they had M16s or whatnot, the military is just not gonna take that, you know what I mean,
Well, let
city
me let
down.
me ask you to you. This is something I hear often. In your military background, I got a couple questions. Like I said, I appreciate your service. You make for a good conversation. One of the things you often hear is that if we had a tyrannical government, the military would not follow orders on its own people. So when you say that the military has drones and things like that, what about the notion that there are MAGA in the military, and if Trump tried to impose a coup or something like that, some of your own Marine brothers would be on his side? How do you view that?
That's a very touchy subject, you know what I mean? It is because, like you said, a lot of us we would never. I mean, to be honest, I would never have thought as a Marine to shoot against my own people. You know what I mean? To shoot
Right.
against their own American citizens. But at the same time, when you sign that oath, when you sign that paper to join the Marine Corps, Army, Navy, Coast Guard, whatever, you're signing to defend the Constitution of the United States and from enemies from domestic and foreign. Now, what do we call a domestic, terrorist? Like, you know what I mean? Where do we draw the line of, oh, they're just putting on a show, or hey, they're actually trying to, destabilize the government? That's up to the president and you know what I mean, to the military leaders to decide that.
Yeah, but what
You know what I
if
mean?
your
Ultimately, they're
general?
gonna.
What if your general, like General, what is it, Milley, or I can't think of his name? He apparently called his counterpart in China. He was the head of the Joint Chiefs, so he's way the hell up. He called
Yeah,
his counterpart in China and let them know not to worry because after the election, a lot of folks around the world thought Trump might turn into some type of rogue leader. So he called
yeah,
his counterpart in China and let them know to not be on the alert, even if Trump gave a crazy order. He assured them, being in charge of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, he assured them that they would not follow the order from Trump. So you have a military personnel saying that he would essentially not follow the commander in chief's order. So I don't know at the end of the day who would be who in a case like that.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, Miley could say that out loud, but at the end of the day, he still has to obey the orders of the president of the United States, no matter who it was. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you this:
Is
being
it
in
a
the military,
is
let me
it
ask you this: being in
is
the
it an
military.
unlawful order? Is it an unlawful order? It might be, but at the end of the day, his job is to protect and serve the United States of America and the president of the United States.
Okay,
That's what his
so
job
let
is
me
to.
ask you this. Let me ask you this: being in the military, if you knew, let's say Trump tweeted out or Trump was on television saying that, as of tomorrow we are going into the Ukraine to get rid of what Putin is saying is an uprising, and then right after you see Trump on television saying that, you get General Miley in front of you saying, "We're not going to follow that shit. You guys don't worry about that. Tomorrow there will be no mission." What do you do when both heads above you are basically countering each other? Do you just ignore Miley and go with the president?
Um, that's an interesting question. I've never really thought about it. I mean, all I know is I gotta listen to my command. You know what I mean? To my base general, to my captain, to my staff sergeant, whoever's in charge of me. That's who I have to follow orders from. They have to follow orders from their.
Even if you knew that person in charge of you was giving you an order that went against the commander, when you're in MEPS or whatever it is, when you swear in,
Yeah,
you're swearing in that the commander in chief is who you hold an oath to. So if your
yeah,
general tells you something, but you know the commander in chief wants the opposite, you're still going to go with the general?
we're gonna have to. Ultimately, it comes down to the general is in charge of us, and on that base. So whether he
All
was in
right.
charge of the Marine Corps base in San Diego or he's in charge of the Marine Corps base anywhere else, or whatever base we're at, that's who's in charge of us. They would have to answer to the president eventually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
So
tough.
they would
That's
get
tough.
court martial. They would get whatever gets coming to them. But at the end of the day, I have to listen to whoever's in front of me. You know what I mean? Yes, the president gives out the orders, but at the end of the day, the president gives the orders, and the generals have to follow those orders.
Fair
Not
enough.
my
All right,
call to decide whether the.
I got one
Yeah,
other
it's not
thing
my
before I
call.
let you go. But
Yeah.
real quick, if for you guys who are old enough, you ever seen the movie Crimson Tide with Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington? It is similar to what the scenario we just talked about. They're on a submarine, and you got the top two guys
Yep.
giving conflicting orders. So any of you ever seen the movie Crimson Tide? It's exactly like that. But last
Yeah.
question I want to ask you, which is kind of off topic, being a Marine. What is your take on Whelan that is currently being held in Russia when folks are suggesting that he has been dishonorably discharged and the notion that we should have fought to bring him home before Brittany Griner because he was military?
You know,
What is your take on that?
I was baffled by it because nobody knew who Paul Whelan was before this incident. And you know
True,
what I mean?
true.
Paul Whelan is not a Marine. I hate when people call him a Marine. He got bad conduct discharge. He was convicted of larceny, of all these charges in the Marine Corps. He was kicked out. So when you get kicked out of the Marine Corps, you're not in the military anymore. You can't get any military benefits. You can't get anything. You know what I mean? You're basically as if you never really served.
Wow.
So he can't access any of our military, installations or anything like that. And he was kicked out for being a bad Marine. So when people are like, "Well, he's a Marine and we should bring him home," hey, he's an American. I get that, but Brittany Griner got busted for a little bit of hash. Should she have had it in Russia? Probably not. You know what I mean? She should have known better than to fucking carry that shit around her bags or whatever. But Paul Whelan was offered for Victor Bout during the Trump presidency, and Putin told them no. You know what I mean? They had offered him before, and Putin said no because, the charges of espionage I think are a little bit worse than having a little bit of hash in your bag. You know what I
A
mean?
hell of a lot worse.
You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
I
Because
got one more. Go ahead.
people are trying to make those even. Like, oh, she had some
Yeah,
hash, and espionage is the same. No, it's not. It's not. It's on a different level. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's on a different
yeah.
level. So
All right,
I
fair
appreciate you
enough.
giving me the call, bro.
Real quick,
Hey,
what is your
anytime.
MOS? In the comments, somebody asked, "What's your MOS?" If you don't mind.
I was a payroll clerk, to be honest with you, bro. I was like,
Okay.
I paid out the military members. If somebody wanted some pay, people got to the base and hey, I need my BAH. I need all the generals and everybody, all these NCOs. Hey, I need my money now because I need to pay my family.
I gotta
I was the
go.
guy
All
that
right,
came
good
to.
talk. All right,
I was
good
the guy.
talk, man.
All right, thank you, man.
I'm here treating the man like Rambo. All right, folks. I guess, unfortunately, I do got to wrap the live up. I appreciate you guys rolling with your boy. You could be anywhere on TikTok you want to be, but the fact you're rolling with your boy is always an honor. 55,000 likes. Damn. It's a lot of folks who showed some love. For you guys who are new to this, follow the program. I'm generally here 11:30 a.m. Central Time. As I always say, I don't ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. I get it from the right. I get it from the left. But I let us all meet in the middle because I strongly believe as long as we can have civilized dialogue in my little tiny ass corner of social media, they can do the same shit in Washington. They're just not trying. We're actually able to do this. So I appreciate you guys rolling with me to the next program. Always a good time, always a good talk. You guys stay safe, stay politically involved, and I will catch you soon.